A new layer in the battle over Senate Bill 150 and rights for transgender youth, where things stand this morning. A season of racing now done for Churchill Downs, but not without another tragedy at Ellis Park now, the latest horse death hanging over the sport. And the family of a Louisville woman found dead in a forest wants more answers. Her cause of death was revealed, but they say they think there's more to what happened. We'll have it all for you coming up this morning.
This is Wave News Sunrise.
Good Wednesday morning. I'm Shannon Kogan alongside meteorologist Tawana Andrew. She took yesterday off to recover from Beyonce. Well worth it?
Well worth it. My legs hurt from basically running from the stadium to the car
before
the store. And we literally got into the car maybe 2 to 3 minutes before the rain actually came down.
Wow.
So, yeah, my legs still hurt this morning. And I think some people are going to be trying to dodge a few raindrops as the day goes along. But overall, things are looking much quieter today, which is certainly some good news. What we're keeping an eye on, though, what's happening in western Kentucky as areas from Carbondale towards Paducah really dealing with some heavy rain, some severe storms, and all of this rain really starting to add up. Some parts of western Kentucky have already seen close to 7 inches of rain, and keep in mind that's just since midnight. What we're dealing with here at home, though, just some clouds overhead, a gloomy start to the day, that is for sure. Going to be watching these clouds sticking around through the morning with a bit of sunshine getting through as we get into later on this afternoon. So some improvements there. And how much of that sunshine you see today will really dictate how warm you get. Overall, we're talking about highs today in the 80s across the region with that isolated rain chance in our forecast. The main focus, of course, is going to be tomorrow. We have the alert day out for your Thursday. Is nearly everyone underneath that slight risk of severe weather. Not only are we going to be watching the heavy rain threat, which could lead to some localized flooding, but we also have to keep an eye on that potential for some damaging winds and, of course, some hail with some of the strongest storms. I'll let you know about the latest timing that we're seeing in just a bit.
The legal tug of war over Senate Bill 150 continues this morning. The ACLU of Kentucky now filing an emergency motion in the fight over transgender health care for minors. And Wave News reporter Olivia Russell has the latest right now on the legal move that came in late last night.
Yeah, Shannon, the ACLU promised they would continue to challenge SB 150. Now they're filing another motion to try to stop it from becoming law. This is the latest movement after a preliminary injunction was lifted on Friday. So for now, puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones can't be given to minors. So the motion asks the court to lift the recently implemented stay, which would stop the law from going into effect and allow transgender kids in Kentucky to get treatment while the lawsuit makes its way through the courts. Critics of the law say this type of care is crucial for transgender children, but supporters say it's harmful. Corey Shapiro, the legal director for the ACLU of Kentucky, released a statement last night saying in part, quote, Kentucky doctors will be prohibited from continuing to provide appropriate, recommended, and necessary care to transgender minors who will suffer severe psychological and physical harm as a result. But David Walls, the Family Foundation executive director, praised lawmakers for their action with Senate Bill 150.
And it was completely appropriate and needed for the legislature to step in and stop these harmful interventions and medical experiments that are being done on children.
JCPS has already had discussions about how parts of the law would be implemented in schools. Those policies are still up for discussion at future board meetings. But as for the legal side of it, that battle is far from over. The Sixth Circuit is expected to hear oral arguments and make a decision at the end of the year. Olivia Russell, Wave News.
Thanks, Olivia. Earlier this year, Churchill Downs made the decision to move the remainder of their spring meet to a western Kentucky track, Ellis Park, after more than a dozen horses died at Churchill. Now a newly released report shows the rest of the season at Ellis Park did not go on without a tragic incident. The report shows the horse, I'm a Modest Man, was euthanized after an injury June 24th. The horse hurt its right foreleg, and leg injuries on horses are very serious, and usually they do not have a chance for recovery. The horse's owner says he was in perfect health leading up to the race and had a promising career ahead of him. He says the racehorse was well cared for and loved.
Totally shocked. I mean, Alice and I both were just shocked and devastated. He was galloping correctly, looked fine to me. Alice said he felt fine to her. And on the gallop out, I didn't see it when it happened. He was almost all the way around the turn and apparently just took a bad step.
Ellis Park Summer Meet is underway right now. It goes through August 27th, and tickets are on sale right now for Churchill Downs' fall meet. The teens accused of killing 2 other teens in a series of shootings is scheduled to appear before a judge today. Mackay Cable and Damarian Moore are facing several charges, including complicity for murder and assault for several violent acts. In September of 2021, Eastern High School student Tyree Smith was shot and killed while waiting for a JCPS school bus. 2 other students were also hurt that day. Then a few weeks later on Thanksgiving, 15-year-old Cortez Duncan Jr. was shot and killed in the Russell neighborhood. A separate shooting earlier also left a teen injured. The trial against Cable and Moore expected to start next April. Still a lot of questions about how a woman died in the Jefferson Memorial Forest. The 24-year-old was out walking her dogs last week and then was found dead. Now her friends and family say they want police to dig deeper into what happened to her. Lyndon Bray was last seen walking her dogs near the Paul Yost Recreation Center on Thursday, and then she was found dead a day later. On Facebook, her mom said she was a loving, generous star. The Jefferson County coroner said Bray's death was caused by ligature hanging, but her family and friends do not believe she died by suicide.
I don't believe this was a suicide, but you know, sometimes the people that do take their own lives are the ones you'd least expect. So it's really hard to tell until we get more information from this investigation.
The investigation into Bray's death is still open, and police have not made any arrests. Her family and friends hope police will find more evidence to explain what happened in the last moments of her life. Meanwhile, her boyfriend is facing criminal charges, but not in relation to her death. 37-year-old Timothy Winterholler is charged with arson. Winterholler is the one who reported Bray missing. When police spoke to him about Bray's disappearance, they say he admitted to setting a fire inside a car in the same place Bray was last seen. Today, Governor Andy Beshear will release the state's annual crime report. He will be joined by Kentucky State Police for that announcement. It includes data from law enforcement agencies across the state. Governor Beshear will announce decreases in several serious crime categories and talk about the steps state officials are taking to protect children from online predators and enhance 911 response. The announcement is at 1:30 this afternoon at the state capitol in Frankfort. We'll bring you the details on air and on wave3.com. Kentucky Attorney General and Republican nominee for governor Daniel Cameron will announce his running mate in the race today. Cameron says he will announce his choice for lieutenant governor at the Republican Party of Kentucky headquarters. That's taking place in Frankfort at 9:30 this morning. His running mate will then make several stops across the state on the campaign trail, and that will also be announced today. And it comes as Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman has officially filed for re-election on the Democratic side. She filed her paperwork yesterday to be Governor Beshear's running mate. Before becoming Lieutenant Governor, Coleman was a teacher and then an assistant principal, and she credited support from teachers as an important factor in Beshear's narrow victory over Republican incumbent Matt Bevin in the 2019 governor's race. She also emphasized the fight for public education is not done. Here's meteorologist Tawana Andrew taking us through your Wednesday.
For today, we're talking about some isolated rain chances as the day goes along, but that's really it. Most of the day just featuring cloudy skies as we warm into the 80s for our highs this afternoon. Looking at the roads, thankfully not much going on. Everything is quiet as we're starting off your Wednesday. We'll talk more about the alert day for tomorrow after the break.
Thanks, Tawana. We've had a whole lot of storms and rain this summer. One Kentucky man experienced a phenomenon firsthand, and now he's giving advice so others don't end up in a dangerous situation. That's on Sunrise.
This is Wave News Sunrise.
A Kentucky man is asking people to listen to warnings after he was struck by lightning over the weekend. Doug Estep was trying to stop water from flooding his basement when he left his Woodford County home on Saturday. He says he went outside when a bolt of lightning hit a tree right in his front yard. He says the bolt jumped from the tree straight into him, throwing him against his house. An ambulance took him to UK Hospital, where doctors did fortunately clear him.
It haunts me every morning when I get up and go to work. I go to the gym 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm out here by myself for the last 2 mornings, and it's it bothers me. I get cold chills just, I'm waiting on that flash. I'll never do it again. And that's what I would say to everybody. Don't even think about it, because it can happen. It happens so fast.
Wow, crazy. The CDC says the odds of being struck by lightning in a given year are less than 1 in a million. So just a good warning for all of us, Tawana.
And 90% of the people who actually get struck by lightning survive, but they usually end up with serious medical conditions afterwards. So the fact that he is A-OK is really a blessing there, because that's usually not what happens. But certainly take heed as we have more of those storms coming our way for tomorrow, with a lot of that lightning possible with them. What we're seeing right now, a lot of lightning off towards our west, where we've been watching, of course, these clusters of showers and thunderstorms diving through the Paducah area. Seeing more reports right now of flooding in the Mayfield area. It's just water just inundating homes. So parts of Graves County really getting impacted by this right now. But here at home, we are quieter. We are seeing those low-level clouds overhead, and we can see those clouds clearly showing up on our SkyTrack camera as we look towards the airport right now. So things are quiet but cloudy this morning, and warm as well, as we're seeing temperatures in the upper 60s and the low 70s. Certainly muggy out there. We're going to be watching for a few of those isolated showers trying to push in as we get through the morning hours. Most of it's just going to be cloudy and dry. Once we get into the afternoon, there is that potential for a few more of those stray showers here and there. But what we are going to see, the clouds breaking apart a little bit more for the afternoon, allowing more of us to enjoy some of that sunshine. Temperatures going to do their best to warm up, eventually ending up in the low to mid 80s for highs. For tonight, partly cloudy skies expected, quiet weather across the region. That is until rain tries to roll in for your Thursday morning. Tomorrow is an alert day, as the majority of the region is outlooked with a slight risk of severe weather. So in terms of threats for tomorrow, there is that damaging wind threat that we have to watch very closely, the potential for some of that hail with some of those thunderstorms as well. And we have to monitor that potential for some localized flash flooding, because remember, the ground is still very saturated. So any additional heavy rainfall can cause issues quickly. So what we're looking at for tomorrow, some of those scattered showers and thunderstorms moving towards us for the morning. We'll have to keep an eye on the track of that, because what we see happening in the morning will influence the next batch of showers and thunderstorms and whether or not they're able to become strong to severe. We'll be watching for more rounds of that rain through lunchtime and into the afternoon. Some of the storms for tomorrow afternoon could be on the stronger side. It does look like a cold front is going to dip down into our region Thursday night to early Friday, and with that comes another potential for more of those strong thunderstorms in the forecast. So a lot to watch for your Thursday. But behind that system, we're going to be quiet and cool and comfortable. Temperatures back down into the upper 70s and low 80s for highs for Friday, Saturday, and on Sunday. And it's not just that we get to enjoy, not just the cooler temperatures, but also some of that lower humidity as well showing up once we head into the weekend. So the weekend is looking fabulous. Now the heat does return as we head into next week, with highs trying to climb back to near 90 degrees for a good chunk of next week. And overall for right now, rain chances are looking low, but another system moving towards us next Thursday could bring some more of that rain back into the forecast.
All right, Tawana, thanks. New on Sunrise, for just the 5th time ever, the Mega Millions jackpot is more than $700 million, because no one won that big prize last night. So now Americans are getting tickets for that, and also tonight's huge Powerball jackpot. Kathleen Ninke joining us with more on this.
A lot of ways to win big. So nobody got that Mega Millions jackpot like you mentioned, Shannon, but 8 Match 5 tickets were sold, none in Kentucky or Indiana. As for Monday night's Powerball drawing, we now know, well, we know no one won the jackpot there either, but this morning we know a little bit more about the Kentucky tickets that pulled other high dollar amounts. A $1 million ticket was sold in Dawson Springs, and right here in Louisville, the Circle K on Lancashire and Bardstown sold not 1 but 2 tickets that won 50 grand, plus another sold 5 minutes up Bardstown at the Bonnie Castle Club. The next Powerball drawing is tonight with that estimated $1 billion jackpot. The cash out value even is more than $500 million. Shannon.
I can dream about that. Kathleen, thank you. Well, busy summer at Udell Gardens, and we're going to talk about some of the great events they have going on today. Josh Ninke is live there at the Gardens to see what they're up to. Josh.
Hey, Shannon, I'm trying to work on my green thumb just a little bit, and I got just the person to help me out here. Got Jacob joining us today. You guys do a lot of good work, obviously, with plants. You can help people figure out how to actually make these things grow, right?
Yes, absolutely. When you come to visit the garden, you'll come right through where we are now in the visitor center. And after touring the gardens and getting filled full of inspiration, on your way back out, you'll pass by our garden gift shop. And Imagine Her team has done a wonderful job of collecting a bunch of containers and planters and other gardening and gift items inside the gift shop. And with these containers, you know, everybody puts plants. What kind of plants do you use at your house?
Ooh, not many. We kill any plants we get, so I need all the tips I can get.
Once we go to break, we're going to work on that. But something we try to stress here that a lot of people overlook is they'll use annuals in their planters. So your lantanas and geraniums and petunias. But those are going to die at fall. So ferns, coral bells, hostas, sedums, more coral bells.
Okay.
You can plant your containers. They're very tough. They can live through our winters here in a container and come back in the spring for you.
Nice. You guys also have some workshops for how to make those perennials propagate, last even longer?
We do. We've got a perennial propagation workshop coming up soon. Something I'd really like to invite you all to is our behind-the-scenes tour of our nursery and greenhouse operation. It's going to be on August 27th, and that's where we're going to get back there and see where all these plants are produced at.
Nice. Yeah, because you guys have so many events. There's even more going on here that you want people to know about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. But like I said, the perennials in containers, it's really fun, a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
And you don't have to buy over and over each year.
Very nice. And this is a beautiful visitor center and gift shop, too. This is and kind of historic, too, right?
Yeah, we're actually inside the barn that Theodore Klein had on property when he purchased back in 1941. And inside that is now the built-in glass gift shop, as you can see behind us.
Yeah, it's very nice. And where can folks go to find more information for all these different events and great classes y'all have?
Right to our website, udellgardens.org. That's where you can find our event page. You can get into an online plant market through the same website. Just uploaded a whole lot of new inventory yesterday.
Nice. Very cool. And of course, we'll put that link for you at wave3.com. And I'm going to learn a little bit more about how to not kill any of these plants that we put in our house here in the break. And we've got more for you coming up here in the next half hour. Live in Crestwood, Josh Ninke, Wave News.
Well, look forward to those tips, Josh. Thank you. Another case of malaria has been found, raising the alarm for doctors. What officials are doing to determine the reason behind the increase in cases.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, over $4.4 billion in grants and scholarships.
.622, U of L Health and UK Healthcare are teaming up right now while it pauses new lung transplant procedures in Lexington. That comes as UK Healthcare is looking to hire a new lung surgical director. U of L Health is stepping in to handle any surge of transplant patients during this temporary pause. Health leaders at U of L say Kentucky has one of the highest rates of lung disease in the nation, and keeping patients closer to home helps them recover.
We know that part of the success of a lung transplant is the patient's social support. We're ready to take them on. We're happy to take them on and help the residents of Kentucky however we can.
There is no word on how long UK Healthcare's pause on lung transplants will last. Another malaria case was found in the U.S., bringing the total number of cases to 8, and that's the most we've seen in a long time. 7 of those cases are in Sarasota County, Florida, and 1 in Texas. The cases are local to the U.S., meaning those who are infected did not travel overseas and caught malaria in the States. It is something our country has not seen in 2 decades. A doctor for the CDC said they're monitoring the cases very closely and says the chance of a national outbreak is still low.
And because of the history that we've had, the outbreaks that we have had have been relatively small and contained, as are these.
Many doctors are still looking into why we are seeing more cases in the U.S. now versus over the last 2 decades. So you need that bug spray. Don't forget about that. Here's Tawana taking a look at the next 10 days, including tomorrow, which is an alert day.
Yeah, we're going to be keeping an eye on a few of these showers around as we continue throughout your Wednesday. But overall, a lot of us look to stay dry with highs in the 80s. Tomorrow, watching that potential for some stronger storms, especially as we get into the afternoon and evening. That is a trend we'll have to monitor closely, especially with that damaging wind, heavy rain, and hail threat. As we get into the end of the week and then the weekend, we're talking low 80s for highs, lower humidity, much more sunshine coming our way then. We'll watch for the heat returning as we get further into next week with highs jumping back to near 90.
Thanks, Tawana. A Louisville property owner was shocked to find 3 people on his roof doing work he never asked them to do. So now he wants the company who hired the contractors to foot the nearly $10,000 bill to repair his roof. Danny Hayes says he got a call from his tenant saying people were on his roof. He says his neighbor was supposed to get roofing work done, and he thought they may be hearing things from the house next door. But when he got to the house, yep, he found the contractors on his roof tearing things up. He says he told them to stop, but the damage was already done. So he called his roofer to fix it, and that charge was $9,991. So he wants the roofing company that made the mistake to pay him back.
Yeah, I understand mistakes happen, but, you know, simple things like knocking on the door would have helped. To let you know we're here, or introduce yourself, or say something.
Now, the roofing company tells Wave News it was an honest mistake. They say the workers were subcontractors, and the owner claims he gave them the right address, but they went to the wrong house. But Hayes says it could be resolved with a simple offer to pay that nearly $10,000 bill to fix his roof. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service trying to figure out who broke into a mailbox outside of a Louisville post office. What to do if you're concerned about getting your mail stolen. That's coming up on Sunrise.
This is Wave News Sunrise.
Wow, look at some of these images out of Middletown. Crazy flash flooding went so quickly, no time for people to even get out of their cars. Several inches of rain fell in some spots, leaving scenes like this one on Lake Forest Parkway in Middletown. Wow, at least 3 cars were submerged near the Chenoweth Run Creek, one with the roof just barely peeking above the water, swallowing it up. So it came down so fast there, and the water just didn't have anywhere to go. So we say good Wednesday morning to you. I'm Shannon Kogan with meteorologist Tawana Andrew. It is 6:30. Could we see more of that today?
Well, not today, but as we head into tomorrow, flash flooding is certainly going to be a concern yet again. So that's something we'll have to watch then. We're keeping an eye on the flash flooding situation in parts of western Kentucky. That is where they've seen close to 7 inches of rain, and that is since midnight. So yes, incredible amounts of rain. Still hearing about some water rescues happening in the Paducah area, and that is something that we'll continue to watch for this morning. But at least for right now, what we have going on, the clouds locked in across the region. And we're going to keep these clouds around through the morning with more of that sunshine trying to get through as we head into the afternoon. Now, over the next 12 hours, going to watch our temperatures jumping into the 80s for your highs and keeping that isolated rain chance around. But overall, today is looking a lot drier than what we saw yesterday. Now, for your Thursday, we do have that slight risk of severe weather out for the majority of wave country. We are talking about the potential for damaging winds, heavy rain, and even some hail with some of the strongest storms. I'll let you know what we're looking at as we get into your Thursday in my full forecast.
Thanks, Tawana. Happening right now, water rescues in western Kentucky, the area just south of Paducah, under a flash flood warning as more than 6 inches of rain fell just since midnight. Kathleen Ninke joining us with some new video in this Wave News Alert now.
People trapped by floodwaters are being rescued from both their cars and their homes at this point. So you see this map from the National Weather Service, that concentrated bit of color in the bottom left. That's those more than 6 inches of rain coming down just since midnight. We're looking specifically at Graves County, seeing the worst of it just south of Paducah by the Tennessee border. So let's look at some of the images coming in. See right there, that's what happens to these roads when the water comes in. It's why we don't drive over any kind of water, because it might be deep or it might have of broken up the road. And then this video right here of somebody out driving and that just torrential downpour, that's in Wingo. And then right here, more in Wingo, you see how torrential it is and the lightning consistently lighting up the sky. Out of somebody's backyard here, see it pouring off the roof. This is why people are staying in their homes as long as their homes are not being flooded. But there you go. You see it coming right up to this person's back door. So this is what first responders are facing right now. This is what emergency management officials are facing right now in Western Kentucky. They're saying turn around, don't drown. And they're saying maybe get to the second floor of your house if you hopefully have one. We'll be watching this all day. Shannon?
Certainly will. Okay, Kathleen, thank you. The ACLU of Kentucky continues to fight back after taking a blow to its legal challenge over Senate Bill 150 last week. The law would ban transgender children from receiving puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. And Wave News reporter Olivia Russell has the latest now in this legal battle that continues.
Yeah, Shannon, this has gone back and forth for months now. From protests at the Capitol, now the Sixth Circuit Court. Back in May, the ACLU filed its first lawsuit to block part of Senate Bill 150. Then a couple weeks later, a preliminary injunction. Last Friday, the preliminary injunction was lifted. So for now, transgender kids don't have access to gender-affirming health care. Yesterday, the ACLU filed a motion for emergency relief, asking the court to lift the recently implemented stay so kids can get care while the lawsuit makes its way through the courts. Shannon Minter, the executive director for the National Center for Lesbian Rights, released a statement last night saying in part, quote, the Sixth Circuit has recognized that this case raises serious issues relating both to the law and to the health and well-being of transgender youth. There's no valid reason to change the status quo, which has been in place for decades, while this case proceeds. But David Walls, the Family Foundation executive director, pointed out how Kentucky isn't the only state tackling the topic.
There are 20 states now that have passed these provisions. So I would argue that there's a very strong sense here in the United States that we're going to hopefully quickly see the end of these experiments on children.
But the legal battle is far from over. The Sixth Circuit is expected to hear oral arguments and make a decision at the end of the year. Olivia Russell, Wave News.
Thanks, Olivia. It's 6:34, and a man is accused of trying to strangle an LMPD officer. Davian Cromartie faces many charges, including assault of a police officer, disarming an officer, and fleeing police. Police say it happened after a woman called officers to remove her boyfriend from her old Louisville home. An arrest report says 2 officers tried to tackle Cromartie when he tried to run. The report says that he managed to put his legs around an officer's neck and then tried to grab his gun. A second officer at the scene who tried to help that partner was then attacked by the woman who called 911. Cromartie ran from the apartment but was arrested, and both officers were taken to Uville Hospital for treatment. They are expected to recover. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service is trying to figure out who stole from a mailbox outside of a Louisville post office. The suspect opened the locked door in the mailbox in the Highlands Douglas neighborhood, and they took most of what was dropped inside. Neighbors who use the post office for mail say they're thinking twice about using those drop boxes.
I will probably use the deposit slot inside now more regularly than the outside boxes, now that they're clearly shown to be more readily crackable.
The Postal Service says they're looking at ways to secure outdoor mailboxes, but they're encouraging people as of now to drop mail inside the post office if you can. UPS has less than 2 weeks to come to a deal with its union workers before they go on strike. Monday, workers hosted a rally outside of Worldport, each side blaming the other from walking away from the negotiation table. The union is pushing for better working conditions and higher wages for part-time employees.
The pay needs to come up. I mean, my son, he's worked here 9 years, and he makes what a brand new employee makes. So my son that has busted his butt off is making what a brand new employee makes, which is not fair and it's not right.
Economic experts say a strike by UPS workers could be one of the costliest in U.S. history. The Louisville Tenants Union is pushing for affordable housing in the city. They hosted a meeting at the Portland Library. They're trying to get the Metro Council to pass the historically black neighborhood ordinance. The ordinance would use a system to determine if a developer would displace any people before awarding them city land or taxpayer dollars.
We're not saying that that should be prohibited, but developers can use their own money to build those projects. They don't need our taxpayer dollars. And then that money, that public money would then go back into the community in the form of home repairs for black homeowners, small business loans, things that actually benefit the community.
The Louisville Tenant Union says anyone who has concerns or wants to join their group can reach out to them on their Facebook page. LMPD invited people out to the Kroger in the Highlands for a meet and greet last night. They're hosting these so people can tell them about any concerns they have in their community, and free food was also available. LMPD talked about why these meetings are important.
The biggest thing is people may come out and they have concerns of their own, and we're here to address that. It could be an illegally parked car. It could be somebody breaking into vehicles in their neighborhood. It could be someone speeding. So we're here to address any concern.
LMPD says they'll go to a different Kroger to talk to people every other week. More than 1,000 crashes happened in highway work zones in Kentucky last year. That's according to new research from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. Transportation leaders say someone died in at least 5 of those crashes. And now they're asking state lawmakers to take action to protect work crews on the roads during the next legislative session. Some lawmakers say new traffic cams can catch speeders and force drivers to slow down.
If cameras aren't the answer, give me something that is. I'm not married to cameras. I'm married to finding safety for our workers in our work zones. Provide me something that we can do to create a safer work environment.
Indiana is testing out a pilot camera program in work zones this year with plans to expand it statewide going forward. Here it's 6:39 right now on this Wednesday, Tawana.
Over the next 12 hours, going to keep it cloudy across the region with an isolated rain chance. In the forecast, temperatures doing their best to warm into the 80s for highs. But overall, it's about those clouds that we are seeing across the region to start off the day. Thankfully, no crashes showing up on the maps right now. But of course, if that changes, we'll keep you updated. We'll talk more about the alert day for your Thursday after the break. Well, Udell Gardens has events every week through the summer to help you have fun and learn something too. So Josh Ninke has been trying to learn about how not to kill the plants in his house this morning. So you getting some good tips there, Josh?
Shannon, this is the best place to get those kinds of tips. I think I've got a fighting chance to keep things alive at the house. But there's plenty of things to check out here throughout the summer. I've got Paul, the executive director, joining us here right now. And you've got some beautiful gardens right here and a lot of history behind us. Walk me through what's happening back here.
Well, this is the iconic castle that Udell is known for. It was actually the pool house for the Klein family. The pool sat here on the terrace, and they used it for family parties and barbecues and what have you.
A nice pool house.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice pool house, kind of a nice thing to have in the backyard. But it was sort of the center of sort of family activities out on the grounds, and they used it for lots of different things. 20 years ago, it didn't quite look like this.
Sure.
When we first took over the property, it needed a lot of love and TLC, but now it's used for classes and workshops, and it's sort of the center of sort of the public spaces here at Udell.
You guys are working on some big renovations, some big changes. Tell me about that.
Yeah, this is the site, this whole area surrounding the castle is the focus of what we call our Castle Gardens campaign. It's a brand new capital campaign, a $5 million project to basically blow up and transform this entire space into world-class gardens that we can use for display and enjoyment, for teaching, for evaluation, improving the accessibility, because of course we're a national register, a historic property, but historic properties sometimes can be a challenge for people to get around.
Sure,
there's different levels and elevations. So this is a total redo that'll make all 3 different levels more accessible to people. And as I said, extensive gardens for teaching, evaluation, and just enjoyment.
A lot to look forward to, yeah. And you guys also right now have participating in the Cultural Pass. What are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, the Culture Pass has been a great thing. We've done it since the very beginning, and it's a great way to bring people out here to a place like this, and maybe people who would never come to a place like this before. But there's all kinds of activities that go on here. Scavenger hunts, people are out on the hiking trails. The fairy forest is a favorite. A bunch of small fairy houses made out of natural materials.
Yeah.
So it just gives people a chance to come out here and just do things at their own pace, learn a little something, blow off a little steam, have some fun, and be exposed to the history, the culture, and the science that goes on out here.
Yeah, and so much to check out. I know we've thrown a lot of things at you throughout the morning. We're going to put all that for you at wave3.com to help you plan out your next visit here at the Udell Botanical Gardens. Mike Ear in Crestwood, Josh Ninke, Wave News.
Thanks, Josh. And for anyone heading out there this weekend, the weather's looking amazing. But for right now, we're focused in on a lot of what's happening across portions of western Kentucky, plus our potential for some severe weather. As we roll into tomorrow, I'll break down everything we're going to be looking at over the next 10 days in just 30 seconds. Good morning, meteorologist Tawana Andrew here with a check of your forecast. And the big weather topic for this morning is what's going on in southern Illinois and western portions of Kentucky. This is where we have this rain that has been coming down since early this morning. And they're not only dealing with some severe thunderstorms in the area, but that flooding concern. In fact, in portions of Graves County, they have been dealing with some water rescues and just seeing a report of portions of Murray. That is where there's parts of the roadways covered in 3 feet of water. Yes, feet of water. So that is something that they're going to have to continue to deal with as this rain continues to come down in their area. But for us here at home, things are a lot calmer. We are dealing with the clouds overhead, and that is it. Speaking of those clouds, you can certainly see them clearly on our SkyTrack camera as we look towards the airport right now in Louisville. So a gloomy start to the day, but it's warm and muggy out there as well, with temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s in most spots right now. As the day continues, we're going to keep those clouds overhead through most of the morning. Once we get into the afternoon, we'll start to see those clouds breaking up a little bit more, and this should allow our temperatures to rocket up once we get into the afternoon. So overall, we're going to be talking about temperatures trying to get back into the 80s for your highs. How far into the 80s you get will be dependent on how much of that sunshine that you see for today. We're also going to monitor a few isolated downpours that can pop throughout the morning and into the afternoon, but they're going to be just that, isolated, not really talking about a widespread rain situation at all for today. For tonight, we'll see partly cloudy skies, temperatures falling down into the 60s and low 70s. Tomorrow is an alert day as we monitor that potential for some strong storms in our forecast. As we continue throughout the day tomorrow, we're going to be watching for some of that rain pushing towards us for your Thursday morning. The big question is what portions of wave country will see the rain in the morning and how long will that stick around, because that will really influence what we deal with as we get into the afternoon. If we keep more of that rain around and the atmosphere remains a little bit more stable as we get into the afternoon, that helps to lower our severe threat. But if we see drier conditions through the morning hours, that does allow the atmosphere to warm up more, become more unstable, and that enhances our severe threat. So this is something that we'll have to watch throughout the day tomorrow. The models are certainly not doing very well on this. They haven't really done very well on this over the past couple of weeks. So this is just another thing that we'll have to watch as we get throughout your Thursday. It does look like a cold front will barrel through the area Thursday night, bringing some more of those thunderstorms back into our forecast. Basically, everyone underneath some sort of severe risk for tomorrow. Most of us underneath that level 2 out of 5. That is that slight risk of severe weather, talking about the threat of damaging winds, heavy rain, which could cause some localized flooding issues, and also some of that hail. So a lot to watch for tomorrow very, very closely. Remember, with systems like this, we could really start to see those totals adding up, and we could see some more of that flash flooding, a lot like what we dealt with in some spots yesterday. As we look towards the weekend, cooler weather arrives, and we're not just talking about the cooler weather, but more of that sunshine and lower humidity showing up. So a nice little break from that heat, from that humidity as we head through the weekend. But if you are just not a fan of that and you really want that heat, you want it to feel like summer as we get further into next week, well, here you go. Going to be seeing those highs back to near 90 as we watch for some isolated showers and thunderstorms in the forecast.
Thanks, Tawana. J.P. Morgan says families are not building their savings as quickly as before. Analysts said customers have 10 to 15% more money in their accounts than they did in 2019. So that sounds good, right? But the inflation is making it a different story. 2 years ago, top earners had enough money to continue normal spending for 43 days without income. But now They just have over a month's worth of spending money. The White House says more than 11,000 student loan borrowers in Kentucky will get help from a new student loan forgiveness plan. The plan will forgive $39 billion in federal student loans for more than 800,000 people. The White House says these are borrowers who made regular payments for 20 or 25 years. Next this morning on Today, talking about pay inside the travel industry, inside that big fight on Capitol Hill over whether to allow airline pilots to keep flying past retirement age.
I'm Kathleen Ninke with this Wave News Alert on the big stories we're watching today. And we start with breaking news. The White House just this morning has expanded its war on junk fees, as President Biden calls them. So for one thing, rental housing platforms like Zillow, Apartments.com, and AffordableHousing.com have agreed to disclose total fees up front. That means even application fees. So no, it won't lower rental costs, but it'll be a little easier to tell when you're looking what you'll actually end up paying. Also, the White House announced a crackdown on price fixing in food and ag markets. We're learning more today what that will actually look like. Plus, we are continuing to follow the flash flooding in western Kentucky. Water rescues are happening now. We will keep you updated all day. And something a little bit more fun, we've of course got our next drawing for the Powerball, that $1 billion jackpot, 16 hours to buy that ticket and have some hopes and dreams. Your chance to be 1 in 300 million. Your 1 in 300 million chance to possibly win that. Shannon?
So really good chances. Okay, Kathleen.
Yeah, no
Thanks. The ACLU has filed an emergency motion to stop Senate Bill 150 from being enforced. Part of the law blocks anyone under 18 from getting puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. Last week, a preliminary injunction blocking the law from going into effect was lifted. The ACLU claims the law will block transgender teens from getting the medical care they need. And if you're thirsty, here's something to remember. McAllister's Deli is giving away some free tea tomorrow. The deli and sub shop offering a free 32-ounce cup of their tea. They have sweet tea, unsweetened tea, or tea and lemonade. And if you dine in, you get 1 free tea per person. If you order through their app or website, you can get up to 4 teas for free. This is the 15th year McAllister's has hosted this free tea day. And I love a good Arnold Palmer. How about you, Tawana?
Oh, I definitely love one. So that is a good option for today. We are seeing some lower visibilities in some spots out there as we're dealing with a little bit of that light fog trying to mix in with some of those low clouds. This is what it looks like right now in Starlight, Indiana. So yeah, gloomy to start off the day with those temperatures in the 60s and the low 70s. Now, as we look ahead throughout the rest of the day, we're going to be talking about those clouds holding on with a bit of sunshine this afternoon. Isolated rain chances around, and we'll see temperatures jumping into the 80s for highs. Don't forget, tomorrow is a alert day as we continue to watch for some more of those showers and thunderstorms trying to come into our forecast, especially during the afternoon and evening hours. But beautiful weather showing up for the weekend.
Perfect timing there, right?
Yeah, for once.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful.
You work the weekends.
That is true.
Yeah.
But
just a little sunshine in your office today.
True. Yes.
Yeah.
We coordinated. Thanks so much for joining us. The Today Show is up next. Have a great day. Hope to see you tomorrow.